To the players, reality is one against one, move and counter-move, helmet to helmet. Nowhere is this conflict more evident than at the fringe of battle where the receiver and cornerback match glares. Here, cunning and speed determine the victor. One-on-one, the battle where the loser bleeds alone on an open field.
Now, on to my AFC predictions, starting with AFC East. Oh, the Jets. Jets should be changed to LAST. They do people every year. They always have a good draft, it seems. They seem to have the right pieces in place and just take a giant dump. Mark my words, these newer uniforms will be a curse. It's been 12 damn years now. New coaches, quarterbacks, skill position players, and not an ounce near the playoffs. I thought Robert Saleh would be an immediate impact, and they were a joke. This team has had two noteworthy news stories in 12 years. Number one's the butt fumble, and now number two is your star quarterback slaying Cougars and Karens across Manhattan. I thought Wilson was the one quarterback out of that overhyped draft that would be worth a damn. Well, he's hurt to start the season, and you're stuck with Joe Flacco, who is convinced he's a Hall of Famer and a current Pro Bowler. Who's he dumping off to anyways? This franchise will never reach a place of prominence. I'm not getting suckered again. 4-13, still better than the Giants though, so you got that, Jets fans. What's the sound of that? Oh, that's the window closing. The Patriots have lost their 4 big-name veterans on defense. McDaniels bolted for Vegas, which could be a good thing. You'll bitch for how long about him? Belichick will still get the job done, and you play the Jets twice a year. Mac Jones enters year 2 as he hopes to throw more than 3 passes in Buffalo this season. That 50 burger in January still tastes absolutely fantastic. James White retired. I mean, seriously, what does this team have? The line is still in flux, and it feels like a high school offense. Somehow Matt Patricia got his old job back. They need to blow this whole thing up and start over. Times are changing, window is shut, 8-9, and I almost feel like that I need to rethink that. Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill! Ryan Flores should have never been canned. The Dolphins have been respectable for 2 straight seasons. They somehow missed the playoffs 2 years ago, finishing 10-6. No one knows for sure what was going on behind the scenes, but the problem with this franchise remains at the top with owner Stephen Ross. Miami lost nearly all their games in the first half of the season, then went on a tear, just missing out at 9-8. Flores is gone, and some nerd from San Francisco was brought in to coach his team. The defense remains stacked, but the elephant in the room is adding Tyreek Hill. Can he have enough focus throughout this season while partying in South Beach? We will see. Tua gets shat on all the time, but this should be his breakout season. Jalen Waddle is a beast, and Belichick would take the leftovers of this talent pool. There's going to be some growing pains with this coach, or they could just go all out this season. They go 9-8 again simply because the AFC is so stacked. If this was last year, I'd say 11 wins with this team. In case you didn't know, Josh Allen can ball. The savior of Buffalo. It's do or die time for Allen and the Bills. They added Von Miller for much needed pass rushing help, although he won't play every down. James Cook, Dalvin's little brother, who really wanted to go to Miami, should be just what the doctor ordered for this much needed running game. Tre'Davious White needs to bounce back to stay healthy in that secondary. Everything is on the line for Buffalo this year, and they can't risk another playoff letdown. As for the division, they'll easily win it. The early part of the schedule is ridiculously tough, however, and they'll struggle out of the gate. Either way, they're 14-3, circle the wagons. On to the AFC North, a team notorious for living in the past and having separation anxiety from aging players. The Steelers are finally entering a rebuilding era. Kinda. I lost a good friend recently who was a diehard Steelers fan, so I'm not going to talk that much junk towards them. It also helps that they're finally done. They have weapons in place, but finally fell back to Panthers territory and are a quarterback away. They drafted Kenny Pickett from the local farm, and honestly should just throw him out there. Trubisky just isn't it. I like the dude, but they can't get it done. The Steelers have also officially hit Cowboys territory since they'll be irrelevant. The defense remains stout up front, and they will rely on burying Najee Harris in the run game this year. They also went out and overpaid 4 players on defense, including Minkah Fitzpatrick. Got to make sure you get those jersey sales. Even though they're rebuilding, they end up being stuck with an easier schedule always. So I got them going 7-10. I've been a Browns supporter for quite some time. The underdog of underdogs. One of 2 teams to go 0-16. They finally get everything in place just 2 years ago and decided to get greedy. The Browns blew up their offense just to land Deshaun Watson, who won't play until Hanukkah. You're stuck with Jacoby Brissett all year. Yes, the defense is stout, extremely stout. We all know Clowney will get hurt in game 1. The defense is only as good as your offense allows you to be outside of the 2001 Baltimore Ravens. The Browns went after Amari Cooper, who sat around Dallas last year collecting dust. Baker is in Carolina. Landry's in New Orleans. And Odell's at home. Hell, even Higgins is in Carolina. Deshaun will most likely save them some games at the end of the season. Really, Cleveland should just tank at this point. Maybe that is happening, and that's why Hunt wants out. They're going 7-10, but they get the nod above the Steelers in the basement. The Ravens remain a team that will never get it out of their own way. Stuck in the old ways of John Harbaugh football, but got a jolt of life with Lamar Jackson. This team is a team by committee as a whole. Solid defense, no big-name playmakers outside of Jackson. Jackson got hurt last year, and it's bound to happen again. If he stays healthy, they're a playoff team, and that's the ceiling. This should mean Harbaugh is on the hot seat. Jackson also wants a new contract and is doing the negotiating himself. Strong flex after an injury curtailed your season last year. They're not even that exciting to watch. They're just gimmicky. At least the Chiefs can be exciting to watch. Well, we're exciting to watch. They'll go 10-7 if Jackson stays healthy, but no contract if Jackson gets hurty. Whereas there wasn't much to say about the boring-ass Ravens. The Bungles are exactly the type of team I support in the NFL. How the hell do you go on a tear to the Super Bowl through the AFC last year like that? Want to know the one damn team no one is talking about? The defending AFC champions. It's a fact that teams that lose the Super Bowl get ousted and suffer a setback the next season. A loser's hangover, if you will. I don't see that here, unless they're riddled with injuries. Burrow was sacked a ridiculous amount of times last year, and the Bengals went out and spent money on that offensive line. They also retooled the defense and have possibly the best receiving core in football. Joe Burrow is that dog. I will admit that I was forever wrong about Jamar Chase. If you can go back and watch the NFL yearbook for the Bengals last year, you will see the type of leader Burrow is. He's the future of the NFL. Could this be a dynasty? Absolutely. 12-5. Lovie Smith takes over the Texans as we move on to the AFC South. They didn't want to pay Brian Flores after his allegations against the league came out. This team is shady, and it goes back to Watson. And this team had everything going for it just a few years ago. They blew it up. It's no different than last year. They're waiting to cash in on these draft picks from Cleveland. Davis Mills is most teams' practice squad quarterback, but he had some lift last year. But he's not a long-term answer. I don't know why Brandon Cook stays around here, but he's actually been in the league for a good minute now, so he's just hiding, collecting a paycheck. Reminds me of Steve Smith sticking around with some porous Panthers teams. They'll sneak a win or two this year. They're not completely terrible, but they're fucking terrible. Basically not 0-17 level, but hey, someone's got to do it at some point. Houston doesn't even give a shit about having an NFL team at this point. This will also be a boring team to watch, unlike a team like the Giants and their eventual misfortunes, 2-15. Doug Peterson brings Myrtle Beach to Jacksonville, which is basically the same damn thing. It's his dream come true. I just figured finding 10 good plays for Jacksonville from last year would be the easiest thing, but 10 good plays all season for this team seems like a stretch. Year 2 for Trevor, and he gets a head coach that cussed out and hit players in Philadelphia. But hey, they won a Super Bowl. Maybe ETN will stay healthy. Christian Kirk is now their number 1 wide receiver, and they way overpaid him, much like the other money Khan threw around this offseason to get people interested. They showed some signs of life at the end of last year, most notably ruining the Colts' hopes at a playoff appearance. They also beat the Bills in the most anti-parlay rigged game of all time. The Jags will look better this year, be closer in games, but still have a while to go. They'd serve better in the NFC than in the AFC this year, 4-13. One could argue that the Titans are a quarterback away. Choking against the Bungles in the playoffs is just another notch on the belt for this franchise. They're a strong team that can never seem to get over the hump. Playoffs a few years ago. Now Tannehill doesn't have any wide receivers. His line is porous, and he's simply not the answer in Nashville. Arguably holding the team back. The Titans did draft Malik Willis out of Liberty, a glorified high school, as they hope to either develop him or use him in gimmick situations. He was pulled from the first preseason game for refusing to throw a pass. This guy's getting hurt, plain and simple. Their defense also lost a key player recently, and Henry wasn't healthy a good portion of last year. Great player, but you gotta question the toll his body's taken. The Titans lucked out with Foreman last year as his backup, but he bolted for Carolina. This team can go south real quick or make a playoff run, but I do think they should be able to stick it out 10-7. The Colts continue to dig through the AARP archives to replace Andrew Luck in hopes of having a one-year flash in the pan. Any other year, I'd say this is a Super Bowl caliber team, but the AFC is just so damn top-heavy this year. The division should be easy for the taking, but then again, that Jacksonville season ender happened last year. Well, Wentz is gone. In comes Matty Ice, the choke artist. Maybe a change of scenery will help him, and some actual protection will get him back in line. This team will be good, no doubt, and we'll see a boost from quarterback play. Don't forget, Wentz only threw like 6 picks last year, so that really wasn't the issue. Gotta wonder if this season falls flat on its face, if Frank Reich will be done. Tons of pieces are in place on defense, and the Colts had the best running back in the league, and probably will for the next 3 years. They're going 11-6. We have saved the best for last. AFC West, AFC best. I was partially right about the Chiefs last year. They fell off just enough and got ousted once again in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, the slayer of TikTokers. Fuck Jackson Mahomes. Fuck him. You brought this on yourself, Patrick. It was so bad your best receiver bolted to Miami. Now there are no receivers. Sammy Watkins plays 3 games. Someone's got to step up. They have a bunch of running backs they'll never use. Kelsey's still enough to run things in the offense, but the division is no slouch anymore. Everyone's better! The conference is better. It's your fault. You did it to yourself. If you were the Titans, nobody would care. But it's Mahomes. The tug of war continue as that door opened last year, 9-8. The Raiders were thought to be dead in the water last October. The kid and Chucky was the best thing to happen to the franchise. You can say they lost in the first round, but that final game against the Chargers was a playoff game. Possibly the greatest game of all time. It's so ridiculous. And I'm a Charger fan. The Raiders aren't playing this year. Well, they are playing. I mean, they're stepping up the game. Bringing in Devontae Adams, Renfro, and Waller. Now, if Mahomes had this, there'd be no stopping him. Carr's more than capable. People need to stop shitting on him. David Carr's a great quarterback. The only thing that can hold this team up is Josh McDaniels, which is more than likely going to happen. But there's too much talent on this team for them not to win games. Chandler Jones will help the defense that didn't need a lot to begin with. Max Crosby is finally a household name. 11-6. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of mailing in at this point because I'm on time constraints. The team that was one quarterback away got their quarterback. Now I don't understand why they extended Russell Wilson. Without playing it down, the Broncos want to make sure that they assure fans show up and get excited. I don't think they need to do that, but I do think this comes back to bite them in the ass down the road. But right now, this team has everything but a quarterback the last few years. And when Denver gets a quarterback when they need it, they tend to win the Super Bowl. I'll state my pick at the end of this video for that. Anyways, two-headed running attack. Monstrous defense, great young receivers, and offensive line. Actually, I can't stand Denver. I hate the Broncos, but you can't argue the talent's here, and that will make Wilson weep tears of joy. Seriously, any of these teams in the West can win an individual division on their own. Broncos going 11-6. The Coupe de Gracie, the leader of leaders in the West, the Chargers. This is the year. This is it. No more 94. No more 2006. Everything's on the table. And Brandon Staley will either blow it on 4th down or play for a tie. Year 3 for Herbert, who will be on MVP levels of dominance if the media can get off of Rodgers' dick. the Chargers went out and really bolstered the defense, getting Khalil Mack to pair with Joey Bosa on the outside for unlimited pressure. Grabbing the best defensive back in football currently with Jackson also doubles down on going defense. They're the only team that went defense. Everybody else in the division went offense. They won the division at 13-4. Now it's playoff time. Moving on, AFC wildcard Titans get it. They will play the Chargers. They will get trounced by Herbert and company. Titans won't be able to move the ball. Defense will be too much. Chargers move on. Raiders, as a wild card, will go back to the Bengals for a rematch of last year's wild card. And yet an amazing tight contest once again. The Bengals will move on. Broncos, Colts. Broncos is the wild card. Going to Indianapolis in some weird alternative universe Peyton Manning Super Bowl. Broncos prove to be just too much for the Colts from an entire team perspective, even as a wild card on the road. Broncos move on. This means the Bills get the number 1 seed. They will take on the Broncos in Buffalo. Strangely, I feel like this will be a low-scoring game, with Allen pulling it out in the end, but the Bills will advance and get to that AFC Championship. And then what is potentially probably going to go down as the best game of the year, of the century. Bengals at Chargers. Lord Burrow. Piss rocket missiles Herbert. Tier to tier, one-on-one, head-to-head. The Chargers will get out-coached. Bengals playoff experience will come into it. The Chargers will fall flat. Bengals advance again to the AFC title game, taking on the Buffalo Bills. In Buffalo, tall task, Danny boy. Burrow boy, Joey boy. Joey's a man. And the Bengals are going to win this game. Like I said earlier, the Bills are a team that I just don't think are going to be able to get over the hump. I just think it's going to be something mental in the playoffs that they don't do, and this won't be the year. That window's not closing. They've got time. But right now, the time is now for the Bengals. They're doubling down and upping the ante. They're going to go back, and we're going to get a rematch of one of the best Super Bowls of all time, and that story needs to continue. So, Bengals, Rams, and Cincinnati will win their first Super Bowl in 2022. No, for the 2022 season. See what I'm saying? They could have had it last year. They had it last year. It was such a good game. You can't, this is like the sequel to a prize fight. You absolutely need this to happen again. The league needs it to happen again. We need somebody to go on a tear for a couple of years, like a rivalry to keep it going. And this is it. So, thank you guys for watching. The NFC preview is up, so you can see the divisions, even though this was the Super Bowl. Appreciate you going through this with me. I've had allergies this week. They're terrible. I turned 40 on Sunday. We're going to Vegas. Let's go. Football is back.